Ladies and gentlemen, the hand is one of the most complex parts of your body. The movement of the tendons, bones, tissues, and nerves allows you to grip and do a wide variety of complex jobs. Without your hands, it would be extremely difficult to do routine simple tasks such as opening the doors, using a fork, buckle your belt, tying your trouser or your shoes. Your hands make you a skilled, valuable worker. The improper use or misuse of hand tools cause minor to serious hand injuries. Hand injuries are likely when the wrong tool is used or the right tool is used improperly at a complex work site or even in the kitchen at your home. You must be aware of what could you not do if you lost a finger, thumb, or hand today, and what are the consequences associated with a hand injury. Welcome to HSC tutorial, and today's topic is hands and finger safety. I'm your host Javed, and you are watching Safety First. As usual, if you are new on this channel, kindly subscribe the channel, like and share the videos. Let us look how to prevent hand and finger injuries. Do you know that your hands and fingers have more nerve endings per square centimeter than any other part of your body? Do you know that your hands and fingers also have more pain receptors than any other part of your body? Do you know that your hands and wrists contain 27 bones and 30 muscles in addition to connective tendons and ligaments? And that's why healthy hand function is so essential to many tasks. The stakes are high for both employees and the employers. Let us look why hand protection is important. Take a moment to hold your hands out in front of you. Look at them. They are the only two hands you will ever have. Now, try clapping with one hand. It has been estimated that almost 20% of all disabling accidents on the job involve the hands. Without your fingers or hands, your ability to work and play would be greatly reduced. Human hands are unique. No other creature in the world has hands that can grasp, hold, move, and manipulate objects like human hands. They are one of your greatest assets and as such must be protected and cared for. The question is why to focus on hands? Your hands are the nearest bodily interface to the task you are doing. The difference between a hand injury (LTI) and a first aid case can be quantified as time and distance. Let us find at-risk behaviors that contribute to hand injuries. Failure to pay attention to the task at hand. Failure to keep one's eyes on task. Failure to keep body parts out of the line of fire. Failure to maintain cutting blades necessitating additional force. Failure to wear personal protective equipment. Failure to use the proper tools. Failure to use the correct type of chemical resistant gloves. Failure of the hands to listen to the brain. Using the wrong tool for the job. Using a cutter as a screwdriver. Hammering a cutter through thick material. And modifying tools to defeat safety devices. Cutting in awkward positions. Cutting on unstable surfaces, allowing cutters to become slippery due to oil-based chemicals, and cutting towards oneself. These are at-risk behaviors. Those lead to unsafe work practices, and you know very well that unsafe acts and unsafe practices lead to potential fatal accidents. Dear friends and fellows, let us look what are hand hazard controls training. pre-task planning, active job inspections, constant hand awareness, and asking what if. Number two, effective lockout tagout. And number three, engineering controls like taglines, tool holders, correct tools, pinch point bars, etc. In the domain of hand placement awareness, hand placement is so crucial because injuries can happen when individuals least expect them. Personal protective equipment will not always prevent injuries from happening. Recognize the hazard, ask what if, and prevent or protect against what if. Hand injuries can be associated with working with machinery or equipment. The materials being used or the job process might be hazardous. Hand tools or power hand tools may be faulty or improperly used. What are the most common causes of hand injuries? Carelessness, lack of awareness, boredom, disregard for safety procedures, and distractions. Hand injuries are difficult to repair because of the complexity of the hand. After a hand injury, the hand may not function as it did before the injury due to loss of motion, dexterity, grip, and ability to complete the simplest of tasks. Ladies and gentlemen, to avoid hand injuries, know the hazards and dangers in the job to be done. Be aware of pinch points. Be aware of hot surfaces. Be aware of rotating or moving parts. Automated machinery may be controlled by remote control or delayed timing devices that cause the machine to start automatically. Loose clothing and jewelry may be caught up in moving machinery, and never remove machine safeguards or operate machinery with safeguards removed. Let us look some typical hand and finger incidents. Cut finger on sharp edge when tightening hose fitting. Injured party fell whilst descending stairs, sustained bruising to left ring finger. Stripping insulation material, cut finger. Selecting a sheet of metal, hand slipped causing laceration requiring 2 stitches. Spark from welding caused nearby material to ignite, causing burn to 3 fingers. Welding ring finger snagged, finger amputated. Let us look what are the reported hand injury contributory factors. Hand and power tools, vibration, crushing, pinch points, dropped objects, struck by moving parts, contact with substances, slips, trips, and falls, temperature extremes, electricity, entanglement, jewelry, or sharp objects. Do you know what are traumatic injuries? You can suffer a traumatic injury to your hands in many ways. For example, tools and machines with sharp edges can cut your hands. Staples, screwdrivers, nails, chisels, and stiff wire can puncture your hands. Getting your hands caught in machinery can sprain, crush, or remove your hand or fingers, especially when wearing jewelry at work. What are contact injuries? Coming into contact with caustic or toxic chemicals, biological substances, electrical sources, or extremely cold or hot objects can irritate or burn your hands. Remember, toxic substances are poisonous substances that can be absorbed through your skin and enter your body. What is RMI? Repetitive motion injury. Whenever you repeat the same hand movement over a long period of time, you run the risk of repetitive motion problems. Repetitive motion problems often appear as a numbness or tingling sensation accompanied by pain and the loss of gripping power in your hands. If you start having these symptoms, take a break. Also, Simple hand exercises such as flexing the wrist and stretching the fingers will help. If the problem persists, talk with your supervisor or consult the doctor or a nurse. Dear friends, fellows, and colleagues, you are watching Safety First, and today's topic is hands and finger safety. OSHA regulation 29 CFR 1910.138 that is related to hand protection. 29 CFR 1910.138 states that employers shall select and require employees to use appropriate hand protection when employees' hands are exposed to hazards such as skin absorption of harmful substances, severe cuts or lacerations, severe abrasions, punctures, chemical burns, thermal burns, or exposure with harmful temperature extremes. Other OSHA regulations related to hand safety, hand and portable power tools and equipment 29 CFR 1910.242, control of hazardous energy, lockout tagout 29 CFR 1910.147, machinery and machine guarding 29 CFR 1910 subpart O. All these regulations are related to hand safety and finger safety. Hand hazards might be bee stings, chemicals, punctures, blood-borne pathogens, insect bites, rotating equipment, extreme temperature, pinch points, cuts, or vibrating equipment. In the attached photographs, you can see image of different hazards. Those can cause hand injuries. What are the lines of defense to protect from harm? Awareness of hazards and prevention measures, personal protective equipment, PPE, and good hygiene. Dear friends and fellows, when using screwdrivers, place the object on a flat surface. Don't hold it in your hand. Don't use screwdrivers as chisels or pry bars. Use the correct size driver for the screw, and don't use screwdrivers with chipped tips. While using knives, use safety knives whenever possible. Keep knife blades sharp. Cut away from your body. Don't use knife blades as screwdrivers, and avoid working on the same object when a co-worker is using a knife. While using hammers, never use a hammer with a splintered, cracked, or loose handle. Don't use hammers with rounded striking faces. Use the correct hammer for the job. Don't strike a hammer face with another hammer, and don't use nail hammer claws as a pry bar. While using hand saws, use moderate pressure on hacksaws to prevent blade failure. Spray saw blades lightly with lubricant prior to use, and keep the blades sharp. While using chisels, when possible, use a safety chisel. Don't use chisel with mushroomed head. Use the correct chisel for the job, and don't use chisel as pry bars. Dear fellows, while using wrenches, use the correct size wrench for the job. Don't use plier with worn grooves or crescent wrenches with worn or sprung jaws. Don't use pliers or crescent wrenches on over-tight bolts and nuts. Pull on wrenches rather than pushing them. Never use a cheater bar on a wrench. While using portable power tools, disconnect power tools when not in use and before changing bits, blades, and other accessories. If a power tool bends, stop and reassess the job. Wear anti-vibration gloves when using power tools that vibrate excessively. Never remove guards. Ground power tools unless double insulated. Don't wear gloves if they can get caught on rotating parts. And secure work in or on a bench. Don't hold it in your hands. While using workshop tools, use a push stick to cut small pieces. Unplug or lock out tools before changing blades. Keep tools sharp. Never remove guards. Use a drill press visa when drilling. Don't hold parts with your hands while using bench grinders. Don't wear gloves when operating bench grinders. Never remove guards. Maintain proper clearances on tool rests and tongue guards, and use vice grip when grinding small parts. In the extreme temperatures, use tongs or high temperature gloves to handle hot or cold parts and the equipment. To avoid bites and stings, use caution when moving debris piles or equipment which has been sitting for a long time. Don't stick your hands in holes, crevices, and other secluded places, including work boots, which have been sitting for a while. Avoid areas where insects nest or congregate, garbage cans, stagnant pools of water, uncovered foods, and areas where flowers are blooming. Avoid dressing in clothing with bright colors. And don't use scented soaps, perfumes, or hairsprays. Never dispose of used razor blades, broken glasses, or other sharp objects in regular trash cans. And keep a metal can specifically for disposal of sharp objects. While handling the equipment, use taglines. Wear leather gloves. Now place your hands on top of the load or between the load and a fixed object. Inspect hooks and chain slings before use. Never hang loads from the hook tip unless it is designed for that. And don't forget to remove jewelry before using power tools or working on machines. Jewelry can be watches, rings, bracelets, or any other item used to decorate a person's body, and always keep sleeves buttoned. Dear friends and fellows, these are the hazards. These are the causes that can lead to potential injuries. Now let us discuss about preventive measures. Number one, housekeeping and hygiene. Poorly maintained machinery, tools, sloppy work areas, and cluttered aisles are contribute to hand injuries. Good hygiene includes hand washing. Hand washing helps to remove germs and dirt from your hands. Clean hands are less susceptible to infection and other skin problems such as contact dermatitis. Number two, personal protective equipment. Gloves. There are many types of gloves that are designed to protect your hands. Metal mesh gloves resist sharp edges and prevent cuts. Leather gloves shield your hands from rough surfaces. Vinyl and neoprene gloves protect your hands against toxic chemicals. Rubber gloves protect you when working around electricity. Padded cloth gloves protect your hands from sharp edges, silvers, dirt, and vibration. Heat resistant gloves protect your hands from heat and flames. Latex disposal gloves are used to protect your hands from germs, bacteria, and dermatitis. Lead lined gloves are used to protect your hands from radiation sources. These are different types and variety of gloves to protect your hands and fingers. If in doubt, talk with your supervisor or HSC advisor about the type of glove you should be using on your job. While wearing and using gloves, select and use the right kind of glove for the job you are going to do. Select gloves that fit. Assess the risk any rings, watches, or bracelets that might cut or tear your gloves or snag the wearer's hand or fingers. Wash your hands before and after wearing your gloves. Inspect your gloves before you use them. Look for tears, holes, or cracks that might leak. Replace your gloves, those are worn or torn, and look after your gloves, and they will look after you. Some gloves may be chemical specified and have a life expectancy. Discard them after the recommended time has expired. After working with chemicals, hold your gloved hands under running water to rinse away any chemicals or dirt before removing the gloves. Wash cotton gloves as needed. Avoid borrowing gloves. Gloves are personal protective equipment. Store gloves right side out in a clean, cool, dry, ventilated area. And never wear gloves around power rotating equipment such as drills and lathes. These are the images of different type of gloves, personal protective equipment using for different type of activity, different type of materials, chemicals, machines, etc. Let us look which glove is best. Cotton for light duty material handling and cleanup works. Leather for equipment handling, general construction, heavy cleanup, welding, moderately hot or cold material handling, shock absorbing, operating rotary hammers and other vibrating equipment. Rubber gloves, chemical gloves must be chosen for the specific chemical being used. Insulated gloves are used for extremely high or low temperatures, are used against electricity. Dear friends and fellows, let us know how chemicals get in. Number one, permeation, diffusion of a chemical through a material on a molecular basis. Number two, penetration, the way of going in, getting in. Chemical enters through zippers, punctures or seams. Number three, degradation. Chemicals causes a change in the physical properties of the material. How we can care gloves. Inspect gloves before use for tears, excessive wear and punctures. Store in a clean, dry location. Discard leather or cloth gloves if they become saturated with oil or other chemicals. Leak test chemical gloves by sealing the wrist and filling the glove with air, and use a clean plastic tube or low pressure airline, not your mouth. How to care the hands. Avoid washing your hands with solvents, harsh soaps or abrasives. Clean and bandage all cuts and abrasions. Immediately remove any embedded foreign materials. Wash immediately after using any chemical, even if you didn't detect leakage. Pay attention to skin rashes. Get an immediate medical evaluation and wear cotton gloves under rubber gloves to reduce sweating. Let us look the types of injuries, lacerations and fractures. Once lines of defense become failed, the ultimate result is injuries, cuts, fractures, punctures and amputations. Cuts are laceration. Massive nerves, tendons or muscle are become infected. Fractures can damage nearby tissue and be difficult to repair. One of the injury type is dermatitis. Dermatitis and burns are caused by direct contact with chemicals, detergents, metals, or very hot or cold objects. Dermatitis may show up immediately after contact with the chemical, causing the skin to become red, swollen, itchy, or burning, and may develop blisters. Dermatitis may develop after several contacts with chemicals known as sensitizers. Nothing happens initially. Later contacts with the chemical produce an allergic reaction. Results from prolonged repetitive work with the hands. This condition can be disabling and can have a variety of temporary symptoms like swelling, tingling, numbness, and pain in the hands or fingers. Let us look what is the first aid procedure to protect the hands. For cuts, apply direct pressure to a large or bleeding cut and elevate the hand above the shoulder. Clean a small cut with soap and warm water and cover it with a sterile bandage. While treating burns, immerse in cool water or run cool water over the burned area. For broken bones, keep the hand still and get professional medical help. Amputations, apply pressure to the injured area immediately. Preserve the amputated part in a plastic bag and put it in ice water or ice. but don't allow the amputated part to become in contact with the ice. For treating sprains, apply cold compresses to reduce pain and swelling. To treat chemical burns, rinse with running water for at least 15 minutes. To treat the heat burns, soak minor burns in cold water. Then apply a sterile bandage. A burn that is charred or blistered requires medical attention. Other than the first aid, there are a few hand exercises that can make your hands and fingers healthy and productive. Doing a few simple exercises before work and between the tasks will build hand strength and provide a rest from repetitive motions. Exercises are: stretch fingers by spreading them wide apart for a few seconds. Repeat 3 times with each hand. Stretch your thumb with holding it down gently for 5 seconds. Repeat 3 times with each hand. Stretch your wrist by making circles with your hands. Repeat 10 times for each hand. To know more about first aid, click the link that is appearing on your screen to learn in detail about the first aid procedure, basic and advanced. To avoid hand and finger injuries, you have to avoid the cutting tools, or you have to use the tools properly and safely. For hand injury prevention success, pre-task planning is mandatory. Choose the correct tool for the task. Choose the correct personal protective equipment for the task. Adhere to safe work behaviors while performing the task. Don't give in to complacency. It is safety's worst enemy. Kindly maintain your vigilance by asking what if. Other protective measures might be barrier creams. Water repellent creams are used to protect your hands from caustic chemicals. Solvent repellent creams are used to protect your hands from solvents, oils, and other organic chemicals. Sunscreens protect your skin from the damaging effects of the sun. Vanishing creams protect your skin against mild acids and make cleaning up easier. Remember, never substitute a barrier cream when you should use gloves. Dear friends, fellows, and colleagues, remember, your hands are one of your greatest assets, so protect them. Everyone in the field exposes their hands to risk of injury. We need to eliminate the hazard or reduce the risk to as low as reasonably practical. How it can be done? By assessing the risk, implementing permit to work system, by preparing risk assessment, reviewing procedures, personal risk awareness programs, and by going through strategic health operation centers. To get the control of hand health and safety, take time out and take a fresh look at your procedures. Think about how you can injure your hands. Think what if, and be aware of the hazards and the risk of injury. Consider the human factors including physical capabilities, competency, and training. Take stock of the task, environment, weather, and the plan you task to suit. Ensure equipment and tools are fit for the purpose and task. Use the correct hand PPE. But remember, personal protective equipment is a last resort. It only protects when all else has failed. Take hand safety home with you. To save your hands, you have to consider, where am I about to place my hands? Are there sharp edges or crush, pinch, or chemical hazards? Can I use tools, blocking, or guarding to eliminate hazards? Do I have the appropriate type of gloves to protect me from the identified hazard? And finally and lastly, don't take a gamble. Plan your task, follow procedure, and be aware of where your hands are in relation to the hazards. Personal safety. This applies to you. This applies to you too. And this applies to you only. Training session is over now. If you have any question, please ask in the comment sections. Thanks for watching and don't forget to like and share. Hope to see you soon with the new HSC tutorial. Till then, take care, good luck and Allah Hafiz.